Beautiful.
So we're out here tonight. We're out here at the Nook. I'm here with my buddy, Jake Bellows, a.k.a. Donny Darkpop, a.k.a. the man with the best purple hats in the game. How you doing tonight, Donny? It's good to see you.
Oh, I'm doing good, man.
Yeah.
I'm doing good. It's been a beautiful day. It was like 70 degrees at least that's what the thermostat that I saw said. It was like 70 degrees today.
Can't beat that. They call it Super Tuesday, and it was super out. That's
Super
for sure.
Tuesday. I voted.
I did too. Oh, I didn't even see the sticker. There you go.
Yeah.
So getting right into it, Donny Darkpop. What's the name about? You know, how'd you come up with this? This is a new pseudonym for you, yeah?
Donny Darkpop is an embodiment of the creative element that I'm putting forth into the world at this moment in time. So, Donny Darkpop represents like a blend of different sounds and textures and artwork and creativity. You know, it's just the name that felt right at the time. Didn't overthink it, and now we're here.
That's awesome. So you've got your debut project coming out, TBA at the moment.
Yes,
but
no, it should be early April. The first single's coming out, and then the album to follow shortly after.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So from what I hear, you've been stuck in all winter, just working on this, huh?
I wouldn't say that I've been stuck in, but I did spend a lot of time being in a creative space, and I would say that like there were a couple of snowstorms. This was a pretty mild winter here in the Northeast, but at the same time there were a couple of storms, like there always are. I'm not gonna lie, there was a day or two where I was like in the studio for 24 hours straight, just like working on something, and there were plenty of days when I don't know. I feel lucky to have the ability to just like zone into something. When I get really inspired by something, when I get into a creative flow, I'm able to just focus like immensely on that in order to finish it in like hours. I could spend hours. That's why like my sleep schedule is so fucked, because there were so many days that I would like start a song. Most of the songs that are on this album, I started and finished within, or at least had like the song written. Maybe there was some post-production, maybe I went and did another vocal take. But for the most part, the songs on this album I did in like one sitting, most of it. So there were so many days when I would start a song at like 10 o'clock and I would tell myself like, oh, I'm not gonna fuck up my life and my sleep just for this one song. And then the next thing you know, it'd be 4:30 in the morning, and I'm just like watching the sun creep above the mountains outside my window, and I'm like, well, shit, that's another one.
Yeah, I did it again. I've gotten to see your recording space, like your studio, and it's really like seems really immersive, and there's just a great energy in there. So I can totally see how you would get stuck into that, you know.
Yeah.
I was wondering about like collaborations on the album.
Yeah.
You know, I've seen some stuff you're posting on your social media about some other people who have helped out. What's that gonna look like?
So the biggest collaborations on this album are with a friend of mine, Taylor Hildak. She'll be on Happier, which is the second single that'll be coming out in mid-April. I've been playing gigs with her for like forever. I mean, we went to high school together. We were playing a bunch of gigs around here in Westfield. Westfield's my hometown. It's good to be back here, actually. I don't spend a lot of time here, so it's good to be in Westfield. So she's a big one. That song is like, oh, so beautiful. Such a beautiful song. And then a good friend of mine and another close collaborator is Eddie Saturn. I produced a good amount of the music on his album that's to be released very shortly also, and he's also featured on a track, as well as a whole myriad of people here and there that are just like doing little pieces. Zach Bartolome, actually, huge shout out to Zach, who played two of just like ferociously incredible saxophone solos. Zach Bartolome is one of my close friends out in this area, one of my favorite musicians. We play a lot of gigs together, and so it just felt natural to have him on the album. Oh, and the big one actually that I have to mention is the Wake Up Call. I wanted to get as many people as I possibly could involved in this project, and so what I did is I reached out to friends of mine. I reached out to people who are following me on social media. I made some posts about it in order to get people to send me a recording of them saying "Wake Up." And so now I have a track. It's an interlude in the middle of the album. It's a wake-up call, essentially. And I have, at this moment in time, last I checked, it was like 67, 68 people saying "Wake Up" in the track. And it's like the way that that it's arranged, it's pan all around. It's kind of trippy.
I was gonna say it sounds very intense.
It's pretty trippy. That's probably the most. That one. If there's any track on the album that borders on the line of like avant-garde, that's like a little bit of the one.
Sounds very cool though, like ambitious and just like a good, like, you got a sense of community in that song.
Exactly.
It kind of feels like, you mentioned that you used to play gigs around here even.
I did.
Back in the day.
Yeah.
How long have you been playing shows for?
I started playing professionally when I was like 15 or so.
And how old are you now?
25.
Wow, so yeah.
Yeah, so it's been about a decade. And I guess when I say playing professionally, I mean like I was getting paid to
play gigs.
Show up and play the gig and then, tear it down. I was playing in places like this actually, like this bar here.
Which is a great place.
Awesome spot.
Amazing.
If y'all are in Westfield, check out the Nook. Highly endorse.
If you had to pick a favorite venue, this might not be a fair question, but around here, like...
In like Western Mass kind of area?
Yeah.
That's a tough one because there's a lot of really good venues in this area.
Yeah, I can understand that.
I would say the two that come to my mind would be, Bishop's Lounge in Northampton has been kind of like a home base for me since I moved back to Massachusetts, and just everybody there is dope. Force, who owns the building, he's a member of the Alchemistics. He's like the sweetest guy. He's fucking awesome. I love Force, and Bishop's is a good spot. I just felt very welcomed there since I started playing there. And the other spot is Hawks and Reed in Greenfield. I just think there's such an up and coming place, and I think that Western Mass there's like a pretty cool music scene in Western Mass. It's kind of like unique. There's like a lot of talent in this area, but because of some unfortunate, somewhat mismanagement of some of the venues, there's like not a lot of major touring acts that are coming through this area anymore. And Hawks and Reed in Greenfield is starting to bring that back. They're starting to bring, like Talib Kweli was there, fucking KRS-One played there. I think that Hawks and Reed is a great venue because they're bringing in these national touring acts, and they're also supporting a local scene in order to do that.
That's super important as well, just to promote things around you as well as the big stuff. And you mentioned since you moved back, Bishop's has been your home base.
Kind of like home base.
Where were you at before? You were out at college?
I was living in Southern California. I was living in Redlands, California. Just making music, studying music. I was at the University of Redlands. And then the University of Redlands gave me a lot of really great knowledge. They gave me a lot of a good jumping off point, but they didn't particularly have a thriving community of improvising musicians, which is something that I definitely was looking for. So I ended up just like networking and finding all of these professional musicians from LA area and Escondido, Pasadena, that kind of area. And so I ended up, by the time I was there, maybe the fourth year that I was there, right as I was about to graduate, and then shortly thereafter, after I graduated, I was playing a lot with some pretty heavy hitting cats out there. So I was playing a lot different music than I'm playing now. It's kind of funny actually, the amount of musical progression.
So you were also playing shows out in California while you were there?
I was.
That's nice.
And kind of played with. When I was there, I was actually playing in like, if somebody was looking for a musician to play, I was going to play the show.
You were the guy.
I was the guy. I ended up playing bass in this hardcore punk band called Go Honky Run for a little bit, actually. A wicked fun band to play with, honestly. And two of my dear friends, Chase and Sula. Yeah, it was interesting. So I was playing everything from like jazz to like punk music to like writing whatever it was that I did. But I didn't even get into production until I got to, until I set up this studio, really. I mean, I had done a little bit of it here and there, but not with the amount of intensity and the amount of force that I put into it when I was like, realized that I could take all of the different sounds, all the different inspirations that I have conglomerated over the past 10 years and put it into some sort of a format that actually felt like what something fresh, something new, something that was actually my voice.
Yeah.
You know?
That's awesome. Yeah. What would you say some of the other things you do outside of music are?
Hiking is probably one of the biggest. Nature, just nature in general.
Do you think that influences the kind of music that you make?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
100%. In fact, you could definitely find tracks with nature imagery throughout the album. References pine trees, climbing. Like, I think that nature has been like one of my biggest influences in terms of life. I grew up climbing trees. I grew up playing in the woods and hiking, backpacking.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the big one. That's definitely the big one.
So what would you say like your favorite piece of equipment is?
You know, it's like, that's a hard question for real because just like, I couldn't do what I do without like a variety of instruments. But I think one of my favorite instruments it's a Kingston violin guitar from 1967.
Okay.
And I got it from Scott Fisher, who is an artist. He lives up in Sunderland. Fucking incredible artist. Like ridiculously incredible artist. He's like illustrated like 150 Magic the Gathering cards. He did the Dark Horse comics. He's done, like, the guy is like, go to his website if you want to check out some of his work. Scott Fisher is like not only is he a fantastic artist, he's just like a really awesome dude. You can follow him on Instagram also. He's at Scott M Fisher, I believe.
Check him out.
Yeah, go check him out. Scott's the man. So when I was working at Birdhouse Music in Northampton for a little bit, and through that I got to know Scott because he's, in addition to being an incredible artist, he's like a guitar nerd, particularly for these like kind of vintage Japanese guitars and just wild, like just interesting instruments from Japan. And so one day he came in with this violin guitar, this Kingston violin guitar, made by Tisco or Kawai in like the late 60s. It's like this blue guitar. It looks like something that lived its life on a boat for like a little bit too long. It has this like kind of like a little bit pained, a little bit like tortured, like fucked up in the exactly the right way that you would want it to sound. Like, it sounds like surf too. It sounds like it's breaking, but in a good way. Like, I don't know how to describe it, but it's definitely. It's definitely on the album in like a couple places. I know it's on Sail Away. It's in a couple different things. But something about that guitar, the reason that it's my favorite guitar and one of my favorite pieces of equipment that I own is not just because it's like a badass instrument, like vintage guitar or whatever. Like that guitar, for whatever reason, connected with me on like a spiritual level when I got it. Like I got that guitar, Scott brought it in, and I was immediately just like, I need to get this guitar. So I bought the guitar immediately, and like I was not feeling at that point in time. I was not feeling particularly inspired on the guitar. I was like at a period of time where I was just making a bunch of hip hop tracks, and it worked, and it was like I was doing that, but the guitar playing had taken like a serious backseat, and guitar was like my main instrument for a long time. So it was interesting. I didn't think it was a bad thing. I thought I was just burnt out, and that guitar changed the way that I play guitar. I started playing in more of like a surf kind of a style, and now like surf guitar and like spaghetti westerns, like Marcone's scores and everything. That's my favorite guitar music now. I love that. And I think a large part of that has to do with like this instrument finding its way into my hands and like becoming a piece of my musical mind.
That's an incredible story. Yeah, when you just find something that hits you, you guys found each other, basically.
Yeah.
So was there, you said you weren't feeling very inspired like with guitar playing. Was there kind of a moment like that it hit you that it made you want to start this Donny Darkpop project?
You know, this was actually like, this was a little bit before the concept for Donny Darkpop had started. This was maybe like a year before that. And that guitar inspired another band that I was playing in for some time called Glass Planet. And that was like some cosmic soul and surf and psychedelia kind of music.
All right.
And that was a pretty interesting band, due to members moving to different areas and doing their own things. That project's been on hiatus, but but it changed the way that I play the guitar, and that has definitely informed how I used the guitar when I decided to use it. Now that Donny Darkpop is the
awesome.
Is the vibe.
Do you have a name for the project?
The project is called Donny Darkpop.
Okay.
You know, it's a self-titled release.
Can't go wrong.
Can't go wrong.
Yeah.
It's funny, we were talking about guitar so much, but like there's actually not all that much guitar on the album. Like there is, and it's definitely a piece of it, but like the other main instrument would be just vocals. Like I did a lot on this album. When I was producing this album, I did a lot with vocal samples, with chopping them, twisting them, running them through this plugin called Exhale, which is by Output, great plugin. So I would say roughly 50% or more of the synth sounds that you hear on the album are actually vocals.
That's pretty wild, actually.
Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah.
Once you start experimenting, you just realize that there's so many ways that you can manipulate any sound. But particularly the human voice is so awesome to do it with because it sounds so familiar to us. Like you can't, it's like when you hear something that is an affected vocal, like it sounds like the voice, but it doesn't quite sound like a voice. So it just like sparks this tension in your mind of like, it is the voice, but it's not the voice. It's familiar, but it's not familiar. And I just been really drawn to that. And once you start experimenting with it, it just kind of is like, like an idea leads to another idea. Like you pitch a voice up, or you change the formant, which would be like what would be the easiest way to, that would be like the shape of your mouth, like going from more of a nasally tone to like something more like this.
Sure, yeah.
You know?
Definitely.
And then you run it through different plugins. You just like, all of a sudden it turns into this like wild, ethereal, like different sounding sound.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I don't have much else here.
Cool.
Is there anything that you wanted to touch upon? I mean, we definitely got space for you to plug all your social media, talk about releases, upcoming releases, if you'd like to do that. Anything like that?
I just feel lucky to be in a position to like spend the amount of time and energy that I am creating such a work of art. Like, not a lot of people that are there's so many people out there that are absurdly talented, that are really good at what they do, they're really creative, and not a lot of them have like the time or the like the mindset or even the focus or the balls too, like a little bit. Yeah, you gotta just like fucking go for it. And I just feel lucky that I'm in a position, I feel fortunate to be in a position where like I mean, I worked my ass off, but it's still good fortune that I'm in a position where I can devote like essentially my life for these past months to this project and just like, yeah. One thing that I want to add is that if you're an artist out there, just start making stuff. Like, just start going. You're never gonna have it be perfect, but there's like going from 0 to 1 is the hardest thing. Like going from like having nothing to having something is literally the hardest step that you'll ever take in your entire life, because there's so many things that are working against you at that point. People are saying like, oh no, it's like so hard to learn this. It's so, there's such a learning curve when you start producing music. Like you gotta like do that, just do it, get it out of the way, and then like from there, it just builds. Like just build it up, like, you know? So if you're an artist, I'm looking at you, just make shit, just start, just do it, please. Donny Darkpop, self-titled release. First single is called Levitate. It will be dropping on April Fool's Day. Don't get it twisted. April 1, 4/1/2020. That was a confusing way to say it, and I'm not going to take it back. April 1st, 2020. We're going to be dropping Levitate. We're all going to be floating. I'm going to be floating. Motherfucker's going to be floating. We're going to have a kick-ass time. And we'll be releasing the album shortly thereafter. So y'all have a kick-ass day, and I will catch you at the next Donny Darkpop show. Peace.
Woo. Lovely. Thank you. Give the people a verse. Let them know.
Right.
Let them know what they're in for.
All right, I'll give you a verse. Okay. All right. All right. I can't keep running away from myself. This hollow shell never appealed to my senses. It drives me senseless. If you're sensitive to sedatives, I'd recommend you set your intentions. State of mind open wide, still been never corrected. They call it odd. Life is harder when you sharpen your cards. You've been chasing diamonds so long in a dim lit club with your heart. When the sirens started singing, best to break free and run. Clairvoyance hit me with the clarity. Been running too long. But beautiful lady, I gotta say that you got away with your words. You look at me hazy, living a daydream now that we're shaking the earth. What do you say? You're hitting the radio, feeling the way that you do, it's incredible. Steady your rollers, your point of view bendable, but it's a better view up at the top. Honestly, trying to outrun the adrenaline, harder than swallowing cinnamon and swimming in gelatin, stuck. Now we living through, true to the skeleton. The truth is that I revel in the value of feminine love.
Woo! See, you know they want to hear it now.
April 1st. Get on it. Donny Darkpop. Check it out. www.donnydarkpop.com. Follow me on the Instagrams at Donny Darkpop, and I will catch you on the flip. Peace.